Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about why I think a tornado outbreak is possible today from Louisiana all the way up to Kentucky. And we're also going to draw some comparisons to the January 12th tornado outbreak that occurred earlier this year. So, let's get right into it, looking at our simulated radar. This is what the radar could look like at about noon today, which is about when this video will probably be uploaded. You can see some strong thunderstorm activity already in far eastern or far western Tennessee. By about 3 p.m., we see even more development with a possible somewhat linear mode setting up, but we do see what could be some supercells in, for example, Tennessee and far northern Mississippi. And as we go to 6 p.m., you can see it's like a semi-discrete mode developing with possible supercells still being around. And then by 9 p.m., storms are going to continue to move off to the east, with maybe some tornado threat still remaining a little bit further south and maybe into Tennessee. Our first sounding we're going to look out for today is northern Mississippi. And here it is. Dew point spreads of around 5 should favor tornadoes, as well as decently steep low-level lapse rates of around 7.3 degrees Celsius per kilometer. All that equates to pretty decent instability for this event. Hodographs are looking decently favorable for tornadoes. They're relatively straight hodographs, but you don't always need a ton of curvature in the low levels to have a tornado event, and we have decent low-level shear in terms of speed anyway. So I think northern Mississippi should be watching out for tornadoes today. Here's another sounding. This one is from central Tennessee, maybe northern Tennessee. Moisture doesn't look like it's going to be a problem. Not the steepest low-level lapse rates, only around 6 degrees Celsius per kilometer, but that can still support tornadoes. And then our hodograph is a little bit more favorable for some tornadoes. We can see a little bit more curvature in the hodographs and decent speed shear as well. 0 to 1 kilometer winds of around 30, which is pretty decent. But one thing that stood out to me about this sounding, especially the hodograph, is it reminded me a lot of the January 12th hodographs. And January 12th, we did have a pretty notable tornado outbreak that occurred. To pay attention to the shape of this hodograph, particularly in the lower levels around here. You can see moving back, they have a pretty similar shape. Instability in terms of mixed layer CAPE is pretty similar on both soundings, just under 1,000 for each. But one of the differences is January 12th had steeper low-level lapse rates and somewhat larger dew point spreads. And I'm saying this because January 12th had a similar sort of setup, because the National Weather Service hadn't issued a very significant severe weather forecast for that day, but the event did end up overperforming as there were supercells embedded within a line that produced some long-tracked strong tornadoes. So I don't think that we're going to see that today, but I think it's just going to show how a setup like this has the potential to overperform. So here's my tornado outlook. I have a level 1 risk from northeastern Louisiana up into pretty good portion of Kentucky, but I also have a level 2 risk from northern parts of Mississippi up towards Nashville. And this is because soundings have become a little bit less wonky, and there's a little bit more curvature in the low levels of the hodograph, which I think is just enough for me to add this level 2 risk, as I think a tornado outbreak is possible today. Comparing this to the Storm Prediction Center, in terms of location, they're still pretty similar. The Storm Prediction Center is maybe a little bit further southwest than my forecast, but I think the tornado threat on my forecast is a little bit higher than what the Storm Prediction Center currently has. I think the Storm Prediction Center might add a 10% risk area somewhere in here, but they very well might not. I just think that the soundings and everything in general has enough potential for a tornado outbreak for me to have a little bit higher of a risk. So that'll do it for this video. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.